What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for June 13th, 2022. And 3.17.2 and all of its contents are now committed on the roadmap, and I expect a patch relatively soon. 3.18 and its cargo refactor is proving not to be as epic as we had hoped, and CIG just announced a major event, and it's gonna be awesome. It's in July. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, pile it into one video, and share some of my opinions in there as well. I do live stream on Twitch every day but Monday, so I can get this video out to you guys starting at 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. So if you ever want to stop by and say hello, that's the place to do it. I do have a second channel as well called SaltEMike 2, where we do a lot of live reactions. I still haven't gotten to what I'd really love to do with that channel, but we're hoping this summer we're going to be able to do something really fun. So make sure you guys check that out as well. But we do have quite a bit to get through, so let's start out with some roadmap updates. And jumping right into roadmap updates, we're going to have a little change in regards to release view and derelicts. So basically, they talked to the Montreal team, and they felt that the settlement-based Reclaimer derelicts are very different from the space-based ones. So they wanted to just have them have two different cards. We've seen the settlement one on ISC a lot. We also know that they're doing the planetary nav mesh test there. It's exclusively going to be there. It's very different from anything we've had before. So with that, they made the space mission derelict card, and basically they said it's going to be narratively unique. I expect it to be a lot like what we have now, but what does narratively unique mean? Is there going to be voice acting? Is it going to be very different from what we have? What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below and let me know, but these have me intrigued for sure, because everything the Montreal team has done has been pretty polished, pretty good, so I'm excited for these. And then for things that passed review that are in 3.17.2, we see additional Lagrange points, Reclaimer settlement and space missions that we just talked about, AI planetary nav mesh, which we also just talked about, illegal delivery missions, which we saw last week, and Siege of Orison, which we're going to kind of brush on a little bit later in the show. For progress tracker updates, they're extending the release view to include Q1 2023, and this is just upstream teams. There's more that's going to follow soon, as well as later on in the year, we'll see some downstream team updates to this. Also, the big one here is salvage vehicle munching. What's funny about this to me is I've been very vocal about the fact that I don't think the laser-based hull stripping is salvage. I think it's low effort, and I just don't find it to be what excited me about salvage when I first backed the game. And this feels like salvage is back on the menu again, but in reality, it's kind of doing the same thing that the lasers do, just in a different, cooler way. But it just feels like salvage more to me, and I would have loved if they started with this and then went to the laser thing later or something. But hey, I'll take what we can get, and I am excited to try salvage out in 3.18. Then freight elevators. This was almost a guarantee when the cargo refactor was delayed a while back, but it's not going to be as featureful as we had kind of were led on for it to be. There was an SCL, or calling all devs about it. It was pretty detailed, and they talked about what the cargo refactor would have been, but it looks like the cargo refactor is going to be in multiple phases or steps, which I wasn't expecting. But you guys can correct me down below if I had different expectations from you guys there. But this is basically the confirmation, freight elevators Q1 2023, that 3.18 is not going to have these, obviously. And 3.18 is probably just going to be physicalized cargo boxes. That's it. And that's great. That's going to open up a lot of gameplay and a lot of logistics things. It's a good step, but I was hoping for more. I think everybody is always hoping for more, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So in this case, if you don't know what these freight elevators are, essentially, if you buy something from a commodity kiosk, which we'll talk a lot about later, you will have the cargo delivered not directly into your ship magically like it is now, but it will be sent to a freight elevator, and you have to move that cargo, or it was kind of implied you would pay to have it moved into your ship by NPCs, and there might be like a timer or something like that. And again, we'll touch on the timer a little bit later. The other interesting thing for me is that they mentioned garages and docking collars, and that's where some of this cargo will be sent to. So I am really looking forward to seeing just how much this changes the game in the future, because it is a major thing for cargo haulers. And hey, future Mike and Lola here, we forgot to talk about the new player experience on the roadmap. They want the first 30 minutes to be better for players, but I have no idea what they plan on doing here. It feels like a tutorial. It feels like it's going to add to the little messages that you have below, but it's very vague right now, and I am very interested in what they're going to be doing because there's so many new players. This is, out of everything being added to the game, probably the most needed thing. Then player-machine physical interaction. These are all animations for us to interact with basically anything, it sounds like. If you've ever turned on a Gladius, that's basically what it's going to look like, is my guess, but everywhere. At least in the description that they gave, it was basically that. Then the Aegis Retaliator base. This is likely the start of ship-based modularity. Even if this isn't modular when it first launches, basically this is a priority for one or two reasons. Either it's Squadron 42, or they need the base ship to start working on that modularity system. This is where you can kind of swap pieces of ships out. Ships that are like very useful with this are the Aegis Retaliator, which they've always said was going to be the first, and something like the Drake Caterpillar, right? Anvil Crucible is up next, and this is the next obvious step for ships and their functionality after salvage, right? So it's just obvious that it would be a repair. We're bringing in material that can be used to repair our ships, and we can do it at a small scale from what we can tell in 3.18, but not really at the scale that you're bringing in the material, right? So we have refueling, but again, you have to buy the fuel at a station. So this is like a huge step in kind of insular gameplay in a group. So the reason why I think this is so cool is you can go out to a wreck and you can collect material and you can keep that material. And then when you as a group needs to repair, you can repair with the materials that you collected. There was never a need to use Alpha UEC. There was never any going to a commodity kiosk. There was never buying or selling of anything. You could do that if you wanted, but it was the first step of group gameplay, org gameplay, that kind of stuff. It's a really big deal. It's really subtle, but it is a big deal to me because that's what excites me about MMOs. That's what excites me about this game in particular. And then the last thing is rescheduled work. This is something that's been rescheduled quite a bit over the years, probably more than anything else, to be honest, is room depressurization. I think everything that we're seeing prioritized now is more important to me, so it's okay, I guess, but let me know in the comments what you think. Is it something that bothers you? But it doesn't bother me. So moving on, we're going to check out some video updates. And starting out with ISC, we had a Ninetales lore featurette, and I did not find this very interesting, but not just because it's lore and it's not something that excites me very much, but because it was already something we knew, and they're pretending like we don't, right? It was really weird and awkward, I thought. So the timing of this video was just not quite right for me. We know the Siege of Orison is coming in 3.17 too, but the entire lore feature that they gave was kind of leading up to the fact that it's coming, right? And I just found it a bit weird, right? So we know it's coming in 3.17 too. We see it on the roadmap. And I thought it should have happened during the event based on all the testing happening right before it. So I thought that, you know, hey, if I was the Ninetales, I would have attacked during the Invictus event because it would have had more of an impact. The reason they didn't is likely nothing to do with a story at all. It was probably everything to do with it not being ready and game development things that just happen, right? And then here they are pretending that, oh, you know, they didn't do it at the event, but we don't know what's happening. And it's like, we know what's happening, guys. Like, come on. But yeah, so that was my feeling on that featurette. Let me know what you guys think, as always. But I'm excited for the Siege of Orison. I just thought this video or this feature could have been like a couple weeks ago, and it would have been perfect, you know? Then commodity kiosk improvements. The first thing they discuss is the core philosophy of the rework, and it's important because I think it sets the tone for the rest of the update for us.
The core philosophy for the rework is tell the player what's going on above all else so that they can make their informed decisions and plan for the future.
First and foremost, I'm not sure that the information that these kiosks give us now really allows for a lot of like future planning and things, but he's definitely setting expectations as low as possible for this rework, and that's disappointing, but it's way better than setting them too high. So what are the issues that they're looking to really resolve here with these?
We like that the current commodity kiosk is stable. Other than that, honestly, the layout of it does a lot to actually harm our gameplay. It does not show commodities on it when they are out of stock, or when they are full stock, or when the player doesn't have it in their ship. Essentially, a lot of times players will say, you have removed X from this shop, or X shop is not working, when in reality it's just that someone on another server has recently interacted with that shop, and as a result, it's looking like it basically has nothing in it. The biggest thing that we're going to be changing is that if an item is at full and you are trying to sell to the shop, it will still show as in the inventory. If an item is empty, as in someone has purchased all of it, we will just show it on there as being empty. You will be able to go to a shop and know exactly what it is going to normally buy and sell in order to plan your trade routes and such, even if currently the shop is not in a state where it can trade in that commodity.
Okay, I'm 100% with this. The lack of information we've had over the years has been really frustrating, especially like when you're going to try to sell a commodity and the location doesn't buy it, right? That's why third-party sites have really come into fruition and have really been popular over the years for cargo haulers, is because these were really bad at providing information. So then this is, obviously a big improvement on what we have now, and being able to understand what's going on is really important. And you saw a really early look at a UI there in that clip as well, and then they show us more on an updated version of the UI.
We are also going to do a little bit of a visual tweak. We're going to create a few variations. There's going to be, if you're in Grimhex, kind of a hacked version that looks a little bit more cruddy. If you're in the trade and development district, or one of the more fancy areas to buy commodities, then we will have a bit more of a showroom floor, fancy Godiva chocolate looking thing. It's intended to kind of give a little bit more flavor, but also to emphasize to you that the feel of the commodities that you are trading in at that location.
All right, I have a massive bone to pick with this. I watched this on SaltEMike too, and there were a lot of comments about me overreacting to this UI. Okay, like, I'm not some gaming critic. I can't judge a game's UI and UX and come from a place of expertise in any way, all right? All I can say is that every other game I've played in my entire life, I've never noticed the UI, I've never said the word user experience or UX, I've never noticed it. I've just played it. It's been intuitive. It's been decent. I understand the game's an alpha, but these are features and things that have been in the game for many years. Not months, years. And I can't help but notice the UI, and this experience is awful in this game. And this isn't that big of an improvement on the awful nature of it. I mean, guys, they have half of the screen being taken up by a spaceship, where the issue here is the lack of information and the lack of ability to plan for the player. All right, this is not good. But then I took a step back and I thought a little bit more. Building blocks was always intended to allow a designer to kind of make a UI on the fly, make it a little bit quicker, very easy to do, it's responsive, all these great things, right? Maybe these UIs are not being made by people who have UI and UX expertise. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. If they are, maybe it's because we're really early on in the rework of the cargo refactor and they don't want to show us certain things, right? Maybe that there's this middle section that's being left open because it's being saved for other features that are going to be there in the future, right? There could be any number of things. But in general, it is a good improvement to have, and I just think we had a really poor starting off point. Now, there are some really interesting things there. They're showing like things that are in high demand, low demand, medium demand. Like there's information on there to help guide you a little bit more than in the past. But yeah, they really need to live up to this statement right here, though.
And this is just step one of our improvements in the trading gameplay loop. Stay tuned, traders and haulers. Help is coming.
And help does need to come, because the UI isn't really the issue with cargo hauling. I think the UI is an issue with the game overall. I mean, let's look at, inventory, things like that. It's terrible. So the issue here with cargo hauling is more along the lines of like not having the Tony Z Quanta economy, things like that. We don't have trading missions. There's so many other bigger issues with cargo that aren't the UI. It's more what they did now is enough for now, but I just don't like the way it looks. And that's my opinion. I feel like you can have used more space. And essentially, guys, they years ago came up with better ideas than what they had shown in this video. Years ago. We're talking, the show was still called Around the Verse at the time, all right? So I think that we should not give them a hard time all the time, but when it's needed, you got to do better, and you got to demand that CIG does better when they could, and they should. And this is one of those cases for me. Now, moving on, we did have a Star Citizen Live, and there's not a whole lot to share here because it was kind of just like a community manager hangout session, and it was cool. So if you guys are into that stuff, they were joking around. You can get to see their personalities and what they like and what they don't like and what they're kind of like with each other. It was neat. But one thing that they did show is that there's some codes that they're giving away at Bar Citizens that they're going to for a little Banu Cube thing in-game. And yeah, on that image, there were some skins that you're going to see at Alien Week, things like that. Nothing crazy, but pretty cool nonetheless. People are really upset that they can't get access to this Banu Cube unless they go to a bar or something like that. Guys, deal with it. You can't get everything that you want. All right, it's just the way it is. I am definitely going to the Bar Citizen in Florida if I'm able to, so I'll get mine there, I hope. If not, oh well, I will buy it off you in-game. I will earn money in-game to earn it from you in-game. That's how I look at anything rare. If I don't get it at the event that it's earned at in-game, outside of game, wherever, I'm going to make as much money as I can so I can buy it from you. And it's a video game, guys. That's kind of how these things work. Now, moving on, let's go into some other updates. And starting out, they had a subscriber update where they're doing this clothing drop in game from a company called Vaporware, which I find hilarious because it nods to a lot of the hate that the company has had over the years, and they're using that hate and turning it into money, which I find hilarious because it's what they got all the hate for in the first place. But for $10 subs, you have this blue and gray jump out suit outfit thing, and then for the $20 sub, it's black and green, and it's starting to look pretty cool. And then for the purchasable one on the sub store, it's gold and black. Probably nodding to the Test Squadron guys and trying to make a little bit more money off of them. Then you have the ship of the month, which isn't quite a ship. It's the Anvil Spartan, which is a ground vehicle that we can try throughout the month of June, and then purchasable throughout the month of June, just in time for the cargo refactor, the Argo Raft, which should be able to show it off in more detail than many other ships in the game. And then for our lore post, it was on Brentworth, which is the Microtech hospital, and it's basically showing or telling a little bit about what could be, or inform what could be gameplay in the future, where Brentworth is a little bit more pricey but more comprehensive healthcare, so maybe it's a better place to respawn at, something like that. And then Battle of the Bricks is kind of why the video is coming out a little bit late today. They dropped it just as I was getting ready to go, which is going to be a Lego building competition between the EVE Online community and the Star Citizen community for charity. The charity is called Extra Life, which is really popular on Twitch, and a lot of people fundraise for it, which is basically donations going to children's hospitals and the like. We're going to hear a lot more details on this on the live stream on July 22nd, and for now, it's just determining what ships are going to be built. And yeah, that's pretty cool. And with that, guys, that is Week in Review. Thank you so much for watching. As always, give me a thumbs up for Happy Mike, because I did not have to work today to get this video out to you guys, which is probably why it's a little bit late. I wanted to take a little bit more time and curate it and make it as good as possible. So let me know what you guys thought about the video, because I did put a little bit more effort into it. I want to do more. I want to do more with this video series. You guys seem to really, really like it. And yeah, leave any comments below on what I may have missed, or something that interests you. And make sure you subscribe for more Weeks in Review. And that'll do it. I'll see you guys next week.